The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Well, I would like to extend a warm welcome to all of you that are attending this webinar. My name is Derek Melber, and I am one of the team members on the AD Solutions team here at Manage Engine, and I am the technical evangelist, which means that I get the opportunity to travel around the world talking to administrators and helping organizations better understand and solve issues around Active Directory. Today, I think we have a pretty compelling webinar for you. I know that many organizations really struggle with the end user forgetting passwords, locking themselves out, and a myriad of other things that you may want to have with your end users. And we have a pretty good solution for you. Before we jump into the material, let me just give you a little bit of information about me. As I said, my name is Derek Melber, and if you have any questions about what we talk about today, Active Directory, group policy, Windows security, anything around stuff that you do at work around Windows, please shoot me an email. That's my email address there, and I'll either hopefully be able to answer it, but if not, like I said, we have an amazing team that can get you some answers. I also wanted to point out some online resources for you. One of the things that we work really hard on the AD Solutions team is to try to develop solutions not only for our products, but also just in general with things that we feel that many organizations struggle with. So one of the things that I want to point you to is our blog, and the other one is our security hardening site. Let me kind of point you to where these things are located at. So if you come to our main page, manageengine.com, and you come over here to community, you will see that you are sent over to something called Pitstop. And here at Pitstop, you have some blogs, and you have our Active Directory blogs. Myself and a couple of others on the team really try to go out of our way to help organizations, help administrators better understand some things that are going on. So as you can see here, we do have talks about security. We actually are trying to get people to understand better Office 365, which honestly has very little to do with Office, which is kind of interesting. And then, we have some different things about technology. So as you can see, it's not only about our products. A lot of the blogs that are out there are actually about general information that can help you. And the whole point of a blog is to be less than 5 minutes of your time. So, once a week, normally they come out on Thursday or Friday. It's kind of one of those things. Get to the office, take less than 5 minutes. If it's something that really, applies to you, then go ahead and take some action. If not, you've taken only 5 minutes and you can move on. The other thing I want to point you to is our security hardening site. Now, our security hardening site is a little bit difficult to find, but again, if you come to the main page and you go to Active Directory, you'll see a drop-down that appears, and down here you'll see the security hardening for Active Directory. And in this link, we have a video to kind of walk you through what the page is about. Plus, we have some different bits and pieces. I would encourage you all, please, to go watch this video, this link right here. This is a link to a Microsoft presentation at TechEd, and it really gives you some insight into the next generation Active Directory security. But really, the consumption of the site is at the bottom of the page. And if you come to the bottom of the page, you'll see that we have all these different areas around security. And for example, if you just go to service accounts, you'll see that we give you some input on how to secure service accounts, what to do with them, and really some guidelines. If we come up here to Active Directory delegation, we have blogs and videos on this as well. So really, this is a site dedicated to you, the administrators, so that you can get more out of what you're doing. Also, we do seminars, and I didn't include the U.S. seminars, and I apologize for that. But actually, in a couple of weeks, myself and a couple of others from the AD Solutions team will be heading to Orange County, California. We'll be heading up to Pleasanton, California, which is right outside of San Francisco. We'll be going to Chicago, and then Dallas. So 4 cities over a 2-week time period. If you go to our page, you can see our seminars, you can sign up, and these seminars are a great way for you to get more information about Active Directory, how to manage Active Directory better, and also just learn about other things that are going on, which I know is difficult to do when you're so busy. So please come to our US-based seminars if you are around the world, and you'll be in Bosnia, Croatia, Ireland, or Australia. Please come to our seminars there as well. So that's just a little bit about me and kind of what we're doing and trying to get you more information, and these are a way that we reach out to you, and we really try to listen and get you information that you need. So what are we going to talk about today? Well, we are going to talk about the concept of allowing users to perform their own password-related fixes. Now, we all know that users need to reset their password. And for a user to reset their password, first of all, they have to get notifications, they have to make sure they know where they're going, and they have to understand the rules and regulations, the policy around the password. Now, inside of Microsoft gives us some tools to do this, but really the tools aren't very good. And really when it comes down to it, when we start talking about, resetting passwords and unlocking accounts, the user doesn't have much. And then when we get into something like Active Directory and self-update of Active Directory information, we really get into a bind, because that's almost impossible to allow the user to do that. So what I want to do is I want to walk you through a process, a very simple, straightforward process. We're going to take about 40 minutes to do this, and I'm going to show you how simple it can be for you to create an environment where you actually empower the user and you free up calls to the help desk for what we consider to be basic configurations. Now, when you look at this list for our agenda and you port this over to the internet, you yourself, other people that you work with, even your parents, when they have issues with their passwords, they are able to go through the internet, through some web-based portal, to change their own password, to do updates to their account. People do it for mail, they do it for Facebook, they do it for Amazon accounts, they do it for all of these different things. So users are very in tune with this. And why we haven't done this in a business environment using Microsoft Active Directory, I really don't know. So that's really what we're going to focus on, is how can you create an environment where you allow the user to perform the activities inside of Active Directory, specifically around their passwords and their own user account properties. Now, the way that we're going to start this is we have to start with policies. Now, I know the word policies is used in many different contexts, but it's really the idea that you are going to define what the user sees and all the parameters around the interface with the user, okay? Now, with our policies, you can define policies for different types of users. You can have a policy for HR employees, a policy for IT, a policy for executives. So you can have these different policies. Now, inside of the policies is where you define what the end user is going to be able to update on their own. So these ADSelfServicePlus policies really become important. They're the foundation of what you're going to offer up to the end user, okay? Now, obviously we have a default policy, but you can create your own and you can customize these policies. Now, when we start looking at the policies themselves, we're going to see that there are some distinct features, okay? So first and foremost, let me show you what's available for the self-service features inside of these policies. Now, I'm going to jump out here to my Active Directory environment, and this is a live Active Directory environment, and you will see that I have ADSelfServicePlus. And if we come over here to configuration, you'll see that you have this policy configuration. Now, I have a policy here, as you'll see, And if we go and we look at this particular policy, the policy will give us the opportunity to configure what the end user is going to see. So are we going to let the end user reset their password, unlock their account, do updates to Active Directory objects, and even change their password? So these are your options that you have for the user to have the ability to manipulate. And you'll see that 3 of them are related to passwords. Now, the difference between resetting their password and changing their password is this simple concept of whether or not they need their old password. The resetting of a password is they do not need to supply their old password. Or changing their password, they must supply their old one. Okay? Now, this is what you get to define. You also get to define who this applies to, whether it be to an OU of users, which is usually my example, you know, HR, IT, executives, or even groups of users. So depending on how you want to manage this, you get to define who receives the policy configuration. So as you can see, so far, this is pretty straightforward. But in order for someone to actually use a web-based interface, in order for them to deal with passwords, it has to be secure. That's why we have multi-factor authentication options. Now, we have, of course, basic configurations, which would be question and answers, and you get to mold what the question and answers would be, minimum length of the answers, you know, and whatnot. You'll see that I have very basic, so I can simply put in individual characters. You, of course, would probably want to go to 4 or 5, depending on what the questions were. You also get to have questions that you set up. Now, with the questions, you can define them, you can add new questions, and you get to carve what questions are going to be in here. Okay? Then you get to determine how many questions they must answer in order for them to get into the system. We all know that, you know, over the last 2 years, different environments have been hacked because it was simple question and answers and people could guess what the answers were. So you need to, in your environment, determine what you want. Now, if you don't want the question and answer option, you can go to verification codes. Again, just like you have with other online resources. We can do email, we can do mobile, we can now do Duo. We also have Google Authenticator. So depending on how you want to have additional authentication and security for users that are utilizing the self-service portal, this is where you make these decisions. Okay? So inside of the policies are where you define what they see, how they interact, and the security that's around that. All right? So the policy becomes the very first piece, and it's going to be what the end user actually sees in the environment. All right? Okay. Now, if we move on, these are just screen captures for you. Now you have to move on to the next step. Now that you've created per OU or per group what they're going to see and how they interact with the system, you now have to put the people into the system. You have to have the user enroll. Now the enrollment, you have options here as well. And the reason that we have so many options is because the tool, over the years, customers have asked for different features and asked for different options, and that's why we provide these different options. Now, with regard to the enrollment, you have a couple of different ways that you can get the user into the environment. You can, of course, have the user receive an email, and the user then logs into ADSelfServicePlus to then enroll. So that's more of a manual type environment for the end user. If you want to get to more of an automated environment for the end user, what you can do is you can actually send them an email, and when they click on the link in the email, it automatically sends them to the environment where they can enroll. Now, the second step and the first step don't actually force the user to enroll. And depending on your environment, depending on your users, depending on how important this is going to be for you to offset the load on your help desk for basic password resets, you can actually force the user to enroll before they get to their computer. Okay? Now, if we go in and we look at this last option, I kind of want you to see what this looks like, okay? Now, at this particular point, I have it set up to force. So if I come over here to my desktop, and let's say that I log off as this user, which is already enrolled, and I log on with a user which has not enrolled yet, okay? So I'm going to log on as a net. Now, you will see that when a net tries to get to her computer, it's going to say, I'm sorry, but you have to enroll. And for her to actually use her computer, she's going to have to enroll into ADSelfServicePlus. So you now have the opportunity to control how the end user is going to communicate into the enrollment process. And of course, once they get into the enrollment process, that's when they're going to go through and they're going to answer their questions and they're going to set up their environment when they get in the enrollment process. Okay? So again, you first need to set up what the user is going to see, and then after that you are going to set up the fact that the users need to enroll. Now, I'm going to come back here and I am going to log on as a different user. So I'm going to log off as a net, and I'm going to log on instead as Aaron. Now Aaron has already enrolled, okay? So at this point, Aaron doesn't receive the enrollment verification, but Aaron is already in the process. He's already enrolled. He already has the ability to get to his environment. So this is the portal, okay? Very easy, very simple. You can see here that users can do self-updates, they can change their password, they can reset their password, and then they can unlock their account. So this is the environment that you created from the policy. Aaron has all four options: self-update, change password, reset, and unlock. So this is the environment that's created for the end user once the end user has enrolled and then they access the portal. Okay? Now, this force enrollment isn't the only thing that you have. And if we go look at the other types of enrollment options, you will quickly see the level that you have to control the enrollment. So if we come here to quick enrollment, you will see that you have force enrollment, and you will see that I have this enabled. And then you have the ability to update the message. Another thing that we have really gotten feedback on is, how much customization do customers want for this, and they want a lot. So you're going to see that there's different ways that we allow this enrollment process, right? So if we go through each of these, we can see all these options, but I think it's pretty clear when we go through the quick enrollment, you can force enrollment, you can send notifications, which is typically what's done. You can actually import data from a CSV file. So if for some reason you have information already, you can just import it from the CSV, or if you have another system that you can get the data from, you can actually get the data from external databases if you happen to have the information in that format. Okay? So at this point, what do we have? At this point, we have our policy configured, including security, and we have the enrollment determined. Now, another key component to ADSelfServicePlus is required that you have to run reports. So you will see that if I go to my reports, these are the users that have enrolled: Derek, Aaron, and we know Aaron's enrolled, but you don't see Annette here. That's why Annette is actually getting that information. So all of these reports become very important to make sure that you are communicating with the user and the user is back communicating with you. So these reports become very important after you set up the system to know exactly what's going on. So now that the user has enrolled, they now have the power to do whatever you wanted them to be able to do. So if you want the user to be able to reset their password, then now you are going to give the user that capability. Now, with this, you have the ability to communicate with the user and give them information to carve out exactly what they need, okay? So if we look at it from both sides, so first of all, I'm going to come in here, and if I come to my configuration administrative tools, I have the ability to basically update the GINA so that you can communicate with the end user from their screen. So you will see that the customization here allows you to control what they see, what they do. You can configure the access URL to customize it, to secure it. And on the other end, what this looks like is if I don't come into this environment, instead I am logged off. So let's say that I'm at this point and I come here, this is where you see the reset password. And you see it immediately sends me to the web interface so that I can reset my password. If I type in Aaron, Aaron now is going to be sent over to the ADSelfServicePlus environment so that Aaron can reset his own password. Now, because Aaron has enrolled and because Aaron has to have some kind of a challenge, Aaron has to put in the answer to the questions that he set up. Also, you have the option of doing additional security to make sure the bots don't get in. So this CAPTCHA is another option that we provide, and it is not a requirement. It's really up to you and how you want to communicate. Now, you will see here that this environment now gives the end user more information than anything that Microsoft can provide and ever has provided. I mean, Active Directory has been around for 16 years, and Microsoft still doesn't allow the end user to see what their password requirements are. So we actually expose that to the user so they're not guessing what kind of a password. Now, remember that this was a password reset, so they're not having to put in their old password. That would be a password change. So here, the user, and I have another demo where I show how to manipulate the password policy. I apologize for my very, very weak password policy here. But if I go in and I put in a new password for Aaron and make sure that Aaron has to update the information correctly, Aaron puts in the new password, does the CAPTCHA, it goes out to the system, and the system says, yes, you're meeting the requirements, and it's going to update my password. So you can see that the end user has the power. End user doesn't have to call anyone. The end user doesn't have to communicate back with the help desk. No one but the user is involved here for this particular password reset. Okay? So that will reset. And so now you saw that there was a custom message. I can include a URL, and basically I'm communicating with the user to make sure that the user has the power to reset their password. Okay? So this is what that end user saw, and you will see here that the password has been reset successfully. Now Aaron can go in, put in the new password, and boom, Aaron now gets to his desktop. Okay? So this is really going to reduce your overhead on help desk calls for resetting of passwords. And we all know the reality of this. I mean, we've done studies, other organizations have done studies, white paper after white paper have documented the percentage of calls that the help desk receive for resetting passwords. And immediately you're going to have that reduced, hopefully down to zero. But we all know that someone's going to forget their answer. They're going to forget some different things. But that's, again, why we use the other options for multi-factor authentication. There's no reason for a user to remember their favorite color or what their childhood hero was and whether I use a capital in there when they can just receive a text to their phone and put in the number and they're good to go. Okay? Now, that covers the basic aspect of resetting the password as well as unlocking the account. Both of those are in the same genre. You can see here that I'm talking about end user unlock and reset, and it's the same idea. Okay? The next step that we want to talk about is self-update. Now, inside of Active Directory, there are configurations for user accounts. And some of these configurations can get pretty beefy. And what I mean by that, there's a lot of these things. Now, if we just jump in and look at Active Directory users and computers, and let's just pull up an account. I mean, we're all familiar with all of these options to configure information related to the user account. I mean, we have address information, we have telephone information, we have organization, what their job title is, and many times administrators of Active Directory or even other applications that are on the network want to take advantage of this information because we want to do LDAP queries against the Active Directory database, but we all know the problem with that. If the information isn't filled out, then it's going to return nothing or it won't return that user. So we want to make sure that this information is filled out. We on the help desk, we as Active Directory administrators, we don't know that information. Who knows that information? Well, the user does. So why not allow the user to actually update their own information? So what we do is we allow you, the administrator, to define what the layout looks like. So here, if I come into the customized layout of the self-update in the actual system, you will see the options that you have available to you. So if we come here to Administrative Tools, Self-Update Layout, you will see that you have the ability to define what this is going to be. So I can do drag and drops. Obviously the logon name probably wouldn't be there, but you never know. I mean, it might be IT that's putting in their logon name. So you will see that their contact information, their address information, organization information is all right here. And I can drag and drop this in so that now that becomes something that the end user can update. And if I want to pull it out, if I come in here, I can delete it, and then it comes back over here. Now, we also give you the options inside of the interface to basically define things. We can have initial values. We can have whether it's mandatory, character links, give them examples in a help card. We can have single, multi, drop-down, checkbox, radio button. So really what we're doing as administrators in the help desk is we're giving the end user the ability to fill out their own user information, just like they do online. So this becomes extremely important when it comes to filling out all that information that's in Active Directory. You're giving the information to the end user, or you're giving the power to the end user, because let's be real, let's be honest, you don't have this information. Who does? The end user does. They know their telephone number, they know where their office is, they know all the other information, okay? So what does this look like on the other end? Well, just like we did before, if Aaron comes in here and Aaron goes to self-update, Aaron is going to put in his information, and when Aaron gets into the portal, now Aaron is going to have the ability to perform the self-update, and the self-update will be whatever you provided. So you will see the match here, even the employee ID. I have the help card, and everything now becomes available so that Aaron now can communicate and update his own information. All right? So now what we're doing is we're moving beyond the basics. We're moving beyond the idea of it just being a password portal. Now we're getting into the self-update concept for allowing the user to really be empowered. Now, over the last year, 2 years, we at ManageEngine have seen a dramatic push to the cloud. And of course, we, as a corporation, our parent company, Zoho, has had cloud-based solutions for many, many, many years. But now we see everybody else coming on board. And these cloud-based solutions, they have their databases, they have their accounts, and the end user is kind of put out in the cold when it comes to the number of accounts and passwords that they have. So what we did is we put inside of this tool the password synchronizer. So the password synchronizer, if we go back to the tool, allows the administrator to define, let's say with Zoho, the domain name, auth token, and description so that the password synchronization can occur. So really what's happening is now that the user is going through ADSelfServicePlus, their password is going to be synchronized with other platforms. That means one password across multiple platforms, and the user now is in a much better situation because they're not having to call the help desk for these other cloud-based solutions which may not have a self-service interface. So this is something that we've added in to ADSelfServicePlus. We find that most organizations actually implement this because it really helps them reduce the overall calls and helps them basically get control over the environment much better. Okay? And it is real-time synchronization to the applications, so there's not that lag time of a 15-20 minute, some kind of a schedule. It's actual real-time, and the tool takes care of that. Now, one of the other great benefits, and I know this might seem like something you want to talk about at first, but it's so important, I wanted to really emphasize it towards the end of my presentation, and that is expiring notifications. Now, if we just look at what Microsoft provides for expiring notification, we have a very limited configuration. Microsoft basically throws up a dialog box saying your password is going to expire in so many days. You, the administrator, through policy, get to define how many days that starts. So with Microsoft, it's very neutral. Also, these windows, these dialogues don't always pop up because the user may not be communicating back, and there is no avenue for that to pop up. Even if it does pop up, if the user's on the airplane, how are they going to actually be able to go in and modify their password or change their password before it expires? So what we've done is we've created an environment to basically handle all of these issues. So what we do is we allow notifications through SMS and email, not just a dialog box. So now when the user is traveling, the user is on vacation, the user is away from their computer, they're still going to receive an SMS or an email saying their password is going to expire. We get to customize the message. We can actually put a link to the help desk info page as a description of how to change their password. Again, the idea that we want is we want as few calls to the help desk as possible. We also have the ability to notify managers. So in organizations where the end users become very complacent and they don't want to reset their passwords and therefore they're causing lack of production, we've given organizations the ability to notify managers, not only the end user, that the password is going to expire. And then, of course, like I mentioned earlier, and throughout this entire presentation, I could have gone to reports, but reports aren't very sexy. There's a report on the notified users. So when it comes to actually carving this out, this is what it looks like. So the password expiring notification is here, and you get to go in and you get to define how you're going to communicate, who you're going to communicate with. And then you get to set up, different parameters around the password expiration, okay? Then we give you some notes for you, the administrator, to have some input. And then also we have more advanced configurations. A lot of these I went over already, but these are things that you may want to look at and may or may not want to actually implement for the notifications. So when it comes to this password expiry notification, some of the key things are that we're going to be able to notify the end user through different avenues, right? So we're going to be able to notify the user through whether it be SMS, whether it be text, whether it be email, or whether it be push notifications. You can also set up a schedule on how often you're going to send out these expiry notifications. With Microsoft, it's just every day, and you can't really modify that. It starts at a certain day, and then that's it. We give you the ability to go in and really lay out the schedule that you want for this. So when it comes to the expiring notification, this is really where we stand out from Microsoft for some of the things they do, and we just enhance what they do. And here you can see that I have a more sophisticated schedule. Here I have SMS and mail, and this is certainly more sophisticated than anything Microsoft can do with regard to notifications. Now, kind of as our, I guess, gift to you, we really try in our tools to provide as much free aspects as possible. And this expiring notification is absolutely free to you. If you just go to our website, download the product, this is for you to consume and for you to utilize. We think this is so important and so vital to organizations that we actually give this away for free. So please, just again, our tools, many of you have some of our tools, whether it be AD Audit Plus or AD Manager Plus. Our tools are so simple to install and so easy to manage and so lightweight that we strongly encourage you to download the tool and give yourself more control over how the users interact. And we feel this expiring notification is really something that every organization needs to be able to communicate with the oh-so more traveling users. So what did we go over today? Well, we kind of talked about how we can empower the users. And we're going to do this through a tool that is going to interact seamlessly with Active Directory. And the tool is going to allow the end user to reset and unlock their own passwords, do their own updates to their Active Directory information, depending on what you define that they can do. And we also have expiring notifications so that you can customize better communications with that end user when their password is going to expire. Finally, if you're using cloud-based solutions and users have multiple accounts, we have a password synchronization aspect which allows Active Directory to communicate with your cloud-based solution to synchronize the password between the two so that you don't have to do it, your user doesn't have to do it, the tool does it automatically for the end user. So we feel that this is a pretty compelling solution. If I were in your shoes, the very first thing that I would do is I'd download the tool to get the free aspect and test it out in a test environment. I'd spin up 5 or 6 virtual machines for clients, spin up a server, attach it to a duplication or a small Active Directory environment, and just see how it works. You're going to see that the users are going to be able to now have better understanding of when their password is expiring, and at the end, with all of these aspects, your help desk is going to have fewer calls, and your help desk now is going to have better return on what they should be doing, which is more sophisticated, complex solutions versus someone needing to unlock or reset their password. So this is our solution, ADSelfServicePlus. Again, if you go out to our website and you just hit the main page of our website, go to Active Directory, Identity Management, Password, ID Self-Service. You can come out here and you can download the tool. It's really quick, really easy to install, and we really feel that it's a rock-solid solution for you. So with that, hopefully you got all of your questions answered. I know that we had a couple of people in the background that were asking questions, and I know that they went through and they were answering your questions. If for some reason you didn't get your question answered, we will be sending you an email with that answer. We also will have a recorded version of this if you want to show it to others in your organization. We'll be posting that out to you soon. And we do have another webinar next week, and we do have some seminars coming up, so please, I hope this was valuable to you. I want to thank you for your time. I know your time is valuable. If you have any questions for me, Derek@manageengine.com. I'd be more than happy to try to help you out. And again, it doesn't have to be just around self-service password reset. It could be around anything AD group policy security. It's kind of my job. That's what I do is try to help organizations and administrators do their job better. So we will be getting you out links. We'll be getting out information to where the recording is. And I want to thank you for your time, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. And until next time, this is Derek Melber and the rest of the AD Solutions team. Thank you very much for your time.